This is Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
The great Kevin Scholla.
Welcome to the Palin Update Radio Magazine.
Thicken your skin and you march forth with your message, your priorities, your agenda that you believe is right for America.
And a pleasant good afternoon, everyone. Kevin Scholla here on the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio, and we are coming to you remotely, and we do want to get through this COVID situation and this COVID sound we've been bringing to you, for lack of a better term. We've been Skyping, Zooming, the tin cans with the string, the smoke signals, the whole thing, but at least the program is still coming to you. We are excited to be moving into our new studio soon, but for now, the remote broadcast is the route we're going, and we're just blessed to be doing this and blessed to be representing the values of Governor Sarah Palin and, of course, the great values of our exceptional country. And speaking of exceptional, we have just a tremendous guest today here on the Palin Update, newly elected Congresswoman Taylor Greene, representing Georgia's 14th. Congresswoman Greene, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I'm just so happy to call you Congresswoman. I mean, not elect, not candidate. You did it. And I want to talk about that first before we get into the treatment you've experienced so far being in office, and also some of the obstacles you've already had to overcome and some of the great things you're doing. But I just want to ask you first, how did you win? Because in a day and age now where we see so many Republicans either capitulating while they're running or while they're actually in office, I mean, you just cannot get straight answers. They back down to everyone. They look at polls. They listen to establishment hacks. They listen to everyone except the American people. And here you ran as a proud American. You ran as a patriot. And you won as an American and a patriot. So, first of all, you showed people across this nation that it can be done. But I want to ask you, how did you do it? Because so many Republicans are running, and they really don't look like Republicans at all.
Well, gosh, and thank you for that compliment. I just decided a long time ago when I first started this that I was going to stick to my core values and beliefs, and my intentions for running for Congress, just that. It's people over politicians, and that's how I believe our federal government and all levels of government should be run, is putting the people first, because that's what our Constitution is about. That's what our Bill of Rights is about, and as taxpayers, we are the true customers of the government, and we deserve good customer service, and we're not getting it. And so having those true core beliefs, and those are my reasons for running for Congress, it's easy for me to stick to it because I'm not there for any other reason. I'm not there because I always wanted to be in Congress. As a matter of fact, I never wanted to be in Congress. I'm not there because I want to be idolized or talked about in the media. As a matter of fact, I really don't want to be talked about in the media, but they're talking a lot about me. I'm not there because I hold any kind of special status to this position or to Washington or to those buildings there. To me, they're just buildings. They're not sacred places. And I really think that we're on the verge of losing our country to socialism, and this is the country that I love. This is a country that, as a woman, I received a college education. I'm a business owner. I'm a proud mother of 3 children and a free Christian, at least so far. But this is the deal, is it's easy for people, and I really don't want to bash anyone, but it's easy for people once they become elected to fall into these traps and forget what's really important. There's a lot of good people that do run, so I don't want to take that away. And there's some really good ones that are there that I like a lot and respect. But it's just unfortunate because the media believes they can whip and beat and bully Republicans into submission by shaming them and writing terrible things about them and reporting terrible things about them like they're doing to me. And they're used to being able to do that, and I'm not backing down. And so they're just continuing on in the most vile, disgusting manner. And then, within these political circles, they're used to being able to have their way with freshmen or people lower in ranks by threatening them with taking away their committee assignments or expelling them altogether, which is both of the things that I'm being threatened with by Democrats right now. And the Democrats' playbook is they point their finger at everybody else for the very things that they're guilty of. And this is the party that's guilty of supporting riots and supporting violence over the past year, that's burned cities, burned buildings, attacked American businesses, attacked innocent people, police officers night after night, taken over police precincts, attacked federal buildings, torn down federal monuments and statues, and truly terrorized the American people. And members of Congress never sent 30,000 National Guardsmen to protect any of these regular, everyday Americans, any of these American businesses, and any of these police officers. But they created a military police state in Washington for Joe Biden's inauguration as a show of power and to tell every single person that has any ideas to stand up against them that don't mess with us. And that's exactly what that is. But they're hypocrites because they say they care about the American people, but their actions prove otherwise. And so if I'm going to be a member of Congress and serve in this very important position and represent my district, then I don't want to do it any other way than the way I'm doing it right now and holding very tightly to the things I believe and the whole reasons that I ran in the first place. Because I can tell you firsthand what I'm going through and these attacks I'm going through are horrible. And I had a much better life before I ever decided to run for Congress. But there is no way I'm going to change or back down. No matter what happens, I'll never do it any other way because it's not worth it. I want to sleep at night, and I'll only sleep good at night with myself if I stand strong and stand firm in these important values and stand up for our freedoms.
Kevin Scholla on Mama Grizzly Radio. This is the Palin Update. We have Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene joining us. We'll be joined by my co-host Tamara Colbert in just a moment to talk about a possible Joe Biden impeachment. But first, Congresswoman, I want to hit on a little more detail of what you just mentioned, this treatment that you're going through. We just went through 4 years of President Trump being attacked before he was even in office, after him with falsehood after falsehood, lie after lie. And now here you are, a freshman congresswoman, and they are after you. CNN just obsessed with you at this point. They've put out piece after piece saying you've lied about this, 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 and this, and then you look at the list and you read it and you see it's all fake news. You see what you were really saying in each instance, and they go ahead and turn it around to fit their narrative. I mean, you're getting the Palin-Trump treatment here, and in a sick, diabolical, crazy left-wing way, it's a compliment because they're afraid of you. You will not back down, but the treatment you're getting, it's really unreal, and you are a congresswoman who just got elected, and they're talking about now saying that you should not be able to be in Congress. I mean, I think they're just so used to pushing people around and they just kowtow to them. They don't know what to do with someone like you. And the funny thing about that is that you're really doing what your job description is. You're standing up for your constituents. You're standing up for the Constitution and for the American people. And really more people should be like you. You shouldn't look like this, outlier. But, it's right now, I mean, when I try to think about who do I trust, President Trump, Governor Palin, well, neither one in office right now. And then really I start thinking about freshman congresswomen. I mean, that's about it. Maybe Paul Gosar. I mean, a couple names come to mind, but not many. And the fact that you won't back down is a breath of fresh air for everyone. But the treatment you're getting, this is what they try to do, just hammer away. But obviously you're not going to give in.
No, I can't give in. I can't. It's not an option for me. It's really not. And I'll tell you that the cancel culture is going. It's really bad, but it's taking a notch up, and it's going to continue to get worse. And just as you mentioned, Governor Palin, President Trump, these are people that had to go through relentless attacks, and then now it's happening to me, and it's happening to some others. But we have to hold our ground. We have to, and it's gonna go this way for everyday people. You know what's happening? The media and Democrat organizations are harassing our donors, people that donated to Republicans like me. They're not only harassing our donors, but they're harassing these people's customers in the business world. They are harassing anybody linked to us in any kind of way, including our families, including our family friends, and every single area. And it's disgusting what they're doing. And it's a bully mentality. The left has a bully mentality, and they just, because they're used to winning with it. They are used to getting their way. If they bully someone long enough and they public shame them long enough, they eventually win. But the day has come, and I'm telling you, it's come for everyone, not just me, but everyone, that we have to stand our ground and tell the bullies on the left that they aren't going to win anymore. And we don't care what they say, and we don't care what they do, because if we continue to give in, we're going to lose our freedoms, and we're going to lose our country. We're going to lose our identity and our souls quicker than you can imagine. And so I just encourage everyone to stand strong, stand firm in your faith, stand firm in your beliefs, and stand up for freedom, because the left is doing everything they can to tear it right out of your hands.
Tamara, we 4 years now of President Trump, impeach. The man did so much, and when you think about how things were stacked against him, all of the media, all of the Democrats, a good chunk of Republicans against him at every turn, whether it was in the open or, in the backstabbing fashion. And the man still did so much for this country. And like, Marjorie Taylor Greene just said early on, her life was a heck of a lot better before being elected. And you look at President Trump, same thing, right? I mean, 74 and the money and the family. He didn't need this, but he knew he could do it. The reluctant leader is exactly, like Washington and people in the past that we've seen. But with this word impeachment now, little different reaction to that word when it's turned around on them. Russia, full hoax on President Trump. Now when you have actual things that we can talk about on Joseph Biden, and then they go and say, well, this congresswoman, she's nuts. What is she talking about? So, Tamara, I want you to jump in here and speak about this possible Biden impeachment.
Representative Greene, it is always refreshing to be reminded that pioneers breaking new ground are always criticized by those who are threatened by them. So I always say liberty loves company. So you have joined the great ranks of Governor Palin, President Trump, and many other pioneers before you as a perfect example of not just media bias, but the darkness of the swamp that is absolutely threatened by the light, the ideas, and the promise that is the American dream that you are bringing to not just the swamp area of District of Columbia, but showing young ladies, showing young men that you can be strong in your faith and you should be able to walk in truth. And I think one of the things that I am hopeful about what you are going to be enabled to do by this impeachment resolution you have presented on President Joe Biden, it is very important for all of America to know what that abuse of power and the other high crimes and misdemeanors that may have been committed. Half of America doesn't even know what that is. Half of America doesn't even know about his son Hunter's laptop. So what is your intent? Share with us a little bit about what your resolution is all about.
Okay, thank you, Tamara. Thank you so much. Well, the reason why I introduced articles of impeachment on Joe Biden is I'm one of those people that I'm just fed up with corruption. And also, I mean, even if it's on the other side of the aisle, I'm against it. If it's Republican, Democrat, corruption should not exist. And this corruption has existed in such a deep level for so long now. And the Democrats have just continued on this witch hunt against President Trump for 4 years now and everyone in his circle. And then when we had to go through impeachment after the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, where they were just it was horrible, putting him on trial for impeachment in the House of Representatives he had no one to defend him. He had no attorney president, no witnesses. there to defend his character. It was literally just us voting, speaking and voting. It blew my mind. It just infuriated me to no end, because President Trump did not incite what happened on January 6th. He did not plan it. He had nothing to do with it, and everyone knows it. And so what they were doing was purely political and evil. And I decided then, I said, it doesn't matter if it just doesn't matter anymore. The bar of impeachment has been lowered to the basement. It means nothing anymore. But there's real people that have abused power, and that's Joe Biden. And he is on record saying that he would withhold $1 billion to go after that prosecutor and get him fired, because that prosecutor was going after his son, Hunter. And Hunter was engaged in Ukrainian energy deals with these companies, making a lot of money, using his father, using the influence of the vice presidency. That is a real abuse of power, and Joe Biden was playing right along with it and completely abusing his position to help his son Hunter. We know he's compromised. Tony Bobolinsky did a great interview a couple months ago where he told all. And if anyone watches it, there's no question in your mind, Joe Biden is connected to the Chinese energy company deals with Hunter Biden. He's directly involved. He received payment. And so it's a pattern of behavior that Joe Biden has consistently been involved in, where he will abuse the power that he has in whatever elected capacity he's in, all to make a lot of money, get rich on these outside business scams, and using his son Hunter and his brother James Biden. And this is dangerous for our country, especially at a time when China is such a massive enemy and a huge threat to basically every country in the entire world. Joe Biden will sell out the American people. He'll sell out our businesses. He'll sell out American interests, and he's compromised, and it goes directly to his son, Hunter.
You're exactly right. I think something that's really going to be revealing is to see if any of this is going to get covered by the so-called mainstream media, because as we know, there is an inherent media bias out there, and we are watching every single day right now just the complete cover-up of anything negative in any capacity. I am a public relations professional, 25 years in media, and it is shocking just the dramatic, now nobody's hiding it, the dramatic way that the media is just absolutely so biased. If you are not in their groupthink, you are essentially ostracized. We don't want to hear from you. And what a tremendous violation of the First Amendment, and yet they are supposed to be protecting that. And again, you're a perfect example of that.
Yeah, that's right. And I appreciate you pointing that out. I mean, coming from the industry, you probably see it very, very clearly. It is. It's if you're not in line with what they're saying and what they're doing and not falling in line with them, then they will ostracize you. Even some of our what we used to call great conservative networks, they won't even talk about me. They don't invite me on their shows. They don't want to have me on there. And then then you have everything from just direct horrible attacks like CNN and Politico and many others. And it's interesting. They'll pick out any teeny tiny thing they can and turn it into a massive news story, but they won't talk about all my thousands of other social media posts where I talk about how we're all created equal here in this country, and I'm so thankful for so many different things. They don't want to talk about things like that. They only want to create a story about you or any of us that isn't true, and then that's the story they broadcast 24/7.
Well,
that's what they did to President Trump, and they will continue.
Absolutely. And, first of all, I think it's brilliant what you've done, that you have been posting all these positive, wonderful messages saying, hey, you want to dig deep into my social media? Well, here you go. Look at all this great stuff. And, of course, they don't like that. And you're not the first to run into this and forget about politics for a moment. We've seen this in the world of sports. Some kid gets drafted out of college. and all of a sudden they find a tweet when he was 14 that he said a quote unquote this or that, and now what? We got to take his job. We got to shame him. We have to do this. So, but for you to come right back at them like this is tremendous. I mean, the thing I said about President Trump, and you remind me of him in many ways of how you carry yourself with honesty and integrity, but also ready to fight for what is right. And you look at I always said that they would have never beaten Hillary, but I always said if a Jeb Bush or a Marco Rubio or, a John Kasich, if one of these guys ever got in, I mean, they would apologize every time anybody told them to apologize about anything. And instead, here you are fighting for your country like you should. And, we really appreciate that. I want to shift gears to something I think you're doing a lot of great things right now, but this is something personally that I'm very concerned about. I'm a professional coach. I have a young children, including a daughter, and I'm a sports guy, not as much as I used to be because I like to stand for our national anthem, but I'm still a sports guy. And here we are now, the party of Me Too, the party of women's rights, the party of, hey, look at Kamala Harris, look how historic, Hillary Clinton, how historic. Yet now we're going to go ahead and just have anyone who identifies as a girl, as a female, to participate in youth sports across this nation, high school sports, even lower levels. How do you feel, not just as a congresswoman, and not just as an American, but as a mom and as a woman, that if here you are going to go have a ball game and all of a sudden, your daughter's going to be guarding 300-pound Kurt?
Well, no, that's right. Kurt doesn't belong on our girls' team.
Amen.
Kurt does not belong in the bathroom or the locker room. And I tell you, I have a very, very strong opinion on that because I'm a former competitive athlete, and my daughter is a D1 collegiate softball player, and she played for many years to earn her scholarship, and I'm very proud of her. And so that makes it up close and personal for me on two levels: the personal experience competing, and then being a very I'm a mama bear. I'm definitely one of those. I'm going to watch out for my kids.
Yes.
And this is a right and wrong issue, and I believe this is why I'm being so heavily attacked, because I've been very vocal on this gender canceling scheme that the Democrats have. It's really an attack on God. You see, in Genesis, the Bible tells us that God created them male and female, and in his image he created them. And so to say that gender doesn't exist is a direct attack on God's creation. It's a direct attack on God himself. And I will say that all day long, and I'll never bow down to those rules, even though Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats passed them at the House of Representatives. They can find me all day long for saying gender pronouns and saying family names. But when you take it a step further and you deny gender and say that biological males, boys or men, can go in our bathrooms, can go in our locker rooms, can compete to play on our girls' teams, and it goes further than that. You see, it's not just there. What people don't realize is if these boys are on the team, guess what? That means they travel with the team. And if they're staying overnight in a hotel room, they have to have a roommate. And that could be one of the girls on the team. And so this is dangerous on every single level, not just an invasion in women's rights and girls' privacy, but it's just dangerous because we're denying that God doesn't exist and we're denying his creation. And I refuse to go along with that, and I've been very vocal about it. And I am an original sponsor with Greg Stubbe and Debbie Lesko on our bill to keep biological men out of girls and women's sports. And the key element in our bill is we don't define gender based on what the doctor says when a baby is born, but it is about their biological sex and their chromosomes. And it has to do with the very core meaning of that. We go directly to how they are created. And we are created either male or female, and there's only two sets of chromosomes, so the Democrats need to stop denying science and stop attacking God. But there's no way on earth that anybody should accept this. And this isn't a Republican or Democrat issue. This is a matter of right and wrong. And we have to all come together and just say enough. Absolutely enough.
Well, the hypocrisy on it is really what gets you, and that's what gets you really on a lot of issues from the left. It's one thing if you stay true to what you believe and you could have an actual honest debate on something, but, every time you turn around, Women's March, first woman to do this, first this to do that, first this to do this, this or that. But then at the same time, well, wait a minute, there's 57 genders. Well, then why is it such a big deal if Kamala Harris is elected or not? So that is the thing that's just maddening to some people. Also, and I agree with you on everything you said as far as why it's just completely wrong on any level. But what people have to realize here, too, and I think this is why you're actually seeing some far left people jumping in on this, and perhaps this is an issue that you could get some support from the other side, if you will. We're not talking about like chess. We're not talking about we're talking about wrestling. We're talking about football. We're talking about
track and field.
Track and but I mean contact sports. I mean wrestling.
Right.
I mean this is unbelievable. So you talked about the roommates, you talked about the bathrooms, and all of that is self-explanatory. But what about just like, if your girl's a lacrosse player or you said your daughter's softball, I mean, you really want, a monster up there hitting the line drive back. These girls hit good enough that you're wearing masks in the field and that level of softball. I mean, you really want that danger. There's a physical danger there, too.
Right. It is a physical danger, and just as you said, so my daughter, she's a catcher most of the time, but she also plays third base. And if there is let's say a 180, 200-pound guy up the bat hitting a fast-pitch softball, and he does hit that line drive directly at her face, you know what? It's going to break her entire face. And it would any girl, even if they have a mask on. And that's just the reality. And girls shouldn't have to compete against guys in track. That's ridiculous. They shouldn't have to compete against them anywhere, anytime. And I'll even go a step further. Girls don't belong in boys' sports either. Let the boys play. Let them have their team too. It's ridiculous to cross these lines, and there's no need for it. If we want to have co-ed sports, fine. Create co-ed sports and give people the option and the choice if they want to play in them. But as far as girls' teams and bathrooms and locker rooms are as it stands right now, boys stay out. That's it. Boys stay out, period.
You look at professional sports, and it was such an escape for people and fun for people. I mean, decades of just enjoying all of the pro leagues, and it didn't matter who you sat next to and what their beliefs were, political or whatever. That day you were all for whatever team you root for, whatever. And now you look at youth sports, too. I mean, all of the great lessons from youth sports, whether it be the teamwork, whether it be the travel with your group, whether it be, getting better and setting goals and all the great stuff that comes from sports. And now we're in a world, and this is in exceptional America, the greatest nation ever in history, and we have young kids, right? And in this case, girls that we're talking about, that have to worry, one, am I going to be ostracized here if I stand for the flag with my hand on my heart? And then two, is there going to be a boy on my team and in my locker room and playing against me? Like, isn't it hard enough to try to go out there and compete on a middle school and a high school and then a college level to not have these crazy distractions? And, we just appreciate that you're fighting for it. Do you think that, probably no one that's elected, but I have heard some on the left who, it's for different reasons, but there are those few issues that perhaps you could get a little traction on here. They want to recognize women all the time. Well, how can you recognize a woman when she's being unfairly beaten by a biological man?
And I think Tulsi Gabbard, one of your colleagues, the Democrat Congresswoman from Hawaii, she actually has been quite outspoken over this in the last few days as well. And maybe there is an opportunity for you to lead the way to find common ground where we actually could find some unity with the other side to get back to common sense. And I think if there's anybody that's going to be able to do that, it's going to be you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm hoping I find some common ground with people because, here's the thing, and you mentioned how it used to be. It used to be we didn't assume everyone was bad just because they didn't agree with us. And I want to get back to that.
Yes.
I want to get back to it's not your team versus my team or my politics versus your politics or even on this is a more disturbing level to me. It's race versus race. And that's horrible. And I think we need to get back to let's just talk about the issue and come together on the issue and not about what team we're on or who we vote with and all of that. And I would love to find some common ground with some Democrats that agree with me that we are not going to treat our daughters this way and to not allow them to be treated this way. And that would be fantastic. And I hope find that same common ground on economy and jobs and, hopefully find some Democrats that believe that, we need to reopen. And that's the best way to help our businesses and the best way for people to stay afloat. We don't need a nonstop steady flow of stimulus checks and government checks. That's not helping anybody. We need to get open again, and we should be doing that. We should have been doing it a long time ago, but we definitely should be doing it now. But that would be in the interest for the people if we were able to find common ground. But it doesn't. The environment is not there, unfortunately. But I'm willing and ready to work with anybody that I can work with on an issue. I definitely extend that invitation at all times.
She is Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman in Georgia's 14th. She's pro-life, pro-gun, and pro-Trump, and the Make America Great Again agenda, if you will. It's not an agenda, it's a movement. But we're just so proud of what you're doing so far, and just hate to see what you're going through as far as these attacks. But also, we know you can do it. All these years of covering Governor Palin, God knows what you can take, and you're a warrior just like her, and we appreciate that. And because you've been through a bunch of nonsense for the last few days from the media, we'd like to end on a very good note and a positive one and talk about something really cool that you're working on. And Tamara, I'll let you go ahead and handle that if you would.
Representative Greene, I am a mom of an airman in the United States Air Force who is currently stationed in Georgia, might I add. And I have been looking through some of the bills and joint resolutions that you have signed on to, which, by the way, I would encourage anybody to go to your website, go to your congressional website and look. You have signed on. You are on the right track. Concealed carry reciprocity, Federal Reserve transparency, term limits for members of Congress. But I will say I found my favorite concurrent resolution that you are one of the sponsors, and that is authorizing the use of the rotunda of the Capitol to honor the last surviving Medal of Honor recipient of the Second World War upon their death. And as a mom who comes from a military family, now a son who is serving in the military, what were you thinking by signing up to this? And obviously you have a heart for our servicemen and women, and we'd love to end with your perspective on our veterans and our active duty military members.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, and thank you to your son. You're such a good mom, raising a selfless son that will serve our country like that. Well, I come from a military family too. My dad is a Vietnam veteran, and my husband served in the Navy Reserves, and I've got many other family members that have served in different areas of the military. And so I see military men and women like this. They take an oath, and they truly fulfill their oath, and they do it selflessly. And these are the people that are willing to lay down their life to protect our country and protect our freedoms. And we owe them the greatest amount of gratitude. And so I was so excited to sign on to that resolution, because I thought, wow, we truly have to honor that not only that man, but his entire generation that fought these incredible, just unbelievable wars, World War I and World War II. And that's a generation that we have almost completely lost. And they're the greatest generation, and they are filled with the greatest lessons. And I wish we could have more of them. And those are my grandparents. I'm sure your grandparents too.
Yes.
And we miss them so much. But we definitely should be honoring those people, those heroes, and those veterans that fought in these terrible wars. So I am so grateful to our military, and that reminds me about the National Guard that came to Washington. It was appalling that thousands of them were sent to a parking garage. That just that tore me up so bad. But I will tell you, I found out for our state of Georgia, none of our National Guardsmen were sent to the parking garage, which I was so grateful for. And I had called and talked to General Cardin because I was so upset about it, and he reassured me they're not there. And then I called our governor and said, please call our guardsmen home. They're not being treated well. I want, Georgia didn't go in the parking garage, but none of them should be there being treated like this. And
Agreed.
So all of our Georgia National Guardsmen are home, which I'm so happy for. And they do such amazing work in all kinds of ways. And so they're fantastic. But my greatest hope is that we do a good job treating our military and respecting them by not sending them over to these senseless foreign wars anymore, not allowing them to be used as the world's police, and continually to protect them and fund them and make sure that they're taken care of the best that we can, because they certainly do take care of us.
Oh, well said, Congresswoman. We appreciate that. We're an Air Force house here. My grandfather was in World War II, and actually the first year of the Air Force, which I figured out on my own doing the math after it was one of their birthdays. He didn't talk about that stuff that much, as most of those men and women, they don't brag about that stuff at all, and they're the greatest of all of us. So we really do appreciate everything you're doing so far. We'd love to have you on again, and like we said, just remember, we've heard this from Governor Palin. I don't think you can fight these attacks that come against you if you're not a believer. I mean, you have God, and you wear that armor, and you know what? That's how you can do it. And because there's so many people, I think, that would like to run and would like to run in an honest fashion and serve in an honest fashion. But if they believe in core American values, they see the treatment that people like you are going through. But clearly, you're there and up to the task, and we need you right now more than ever. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Georgia's 14th district, newly elected Congresswoman. They want her out already because she's actually trying to do something positive. But we had a positive talk with her today here on the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. And Congresswoman, you're welcome here anytime.
Well, thank you, and I really enjoyed spending some time with you all today. So thank you so much. I'd love to come back.
All right, Marjorie Taylor Greene on the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. And Tamara, just a tremendous guest today. We appreciate all your insight there, and I know that those were a lot of issues that you really wanted to touch upon today, and I think we covered them all. I think, we got the word out about what she's trying to do as far as this impeachment situation, the attacks that have come against her solely because she's out there fighting for liberty. And then, of course, the situation with the girls' sports, which we will definitely revisit and follow closely. And just such a cool thing with the World War II situation. I'm glad you did the homework on that. But, Tamara, as always, we appreciate everything you do, and looking forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Representative Greene, and Godspeed to you and all your efforts in our Congress. Thank you. We'll be praying for you.
You can follow Mama Grizzly Radio at mamagrizzlyradio.com, also through sarahpalin.com. You can check out my column on Breitbart.com. Just search Kevin Scholla. And, of course, follow on Twitter at Kevin Scholla, Instagram, Kevin Scholla USA, and, yes, still on Parler, waiting for that censorship to end at Kevin Scholla 45. Tamara, how can you be reached on social media for the time being until they ban you?
Twitter at Tamara Colbert USA and Instagram at Tamara Colbert USA.
The Palin Update is produced by Lena Anderson, the Andy L. Kramer, and Lori Ann Lewis. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update Radio Magazine on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.